This show is proudly sponsored by Habitats at Home, Australia's leading PVC enclosure specialist. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook at Habitats at Home, and be sure to visit habitatsathome.com.au if you're in the market for PVC reptile enclosures and other reptile supplies. Massive thanks to Tyson over at Habitats at Home. G'day and welcome to Under the Heat Lamp with Joe Mack. Today's guest is one that I've been looking forward to having on the show for a while. Hey, Tyson from Habitats at Home, how you going?
Yeah, good mate. How are you?
Good, thanks. I mentioned to you earlier that we maybe should put a counter on how many times we say Habitats at Home in this podcast, see what we can get up to.
Yeah, you got to take a shot every time you hear it.
Jeez. We'd be in some serious trouble.
I'll be in some serious trouble. I had my first beer in over 2 years last weekend.
Holy dooly. How's that?
Yeah, it was all right. It was good actually. Trying to not make a habit of it again.
Yeah,
But
understandable. Yeah, for sure. Right, cool. Well, just a regular old thing. Do you want to just give us a rundown on your history with reptiles?
yeah, sure. I guess my history of how I got into reptiles is not too uncommon for people of my generation. Dinosaurs, Steve Irwin, the usual sort of entry. I guess the only difference for me is that I'm actually from New Zealand, and I moved here when I was 22. So I was a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old reptile mad child with no access to reptiles. Um, which was obviously a little difficult when you're reading every book and consuming everything and watching every episode of Steve Irwin and trying to just absorb as much as you can, but you've actually got nothing to really. I wasn't out catching lizards other than like little invasive or introduced rainbow skinks. Um, we got no
Yeah.
snakes, we got no turtles, we got amazing geckos, but they're almost impossible to find. Um, so yeah, it was
You're
a
really
really
trapped.
it was very 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 trapped. The only thing that really I had access to, and I got my first pair of red-eared sliders at 5 years old, which was a terrible idea. I was Ninja Turtle mad, and my mother and father decided they'd get me some turtles, and they were literally in like the little critter keeper, like a low critter keeper,
Yeah, good.
inch of water, one rock, um, and a like a desk lamp with a light bulb in it.
Yeah, keeping them
And
hot.
as you can imagine, they didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was like my first sort of introduction, and then like just being reptile mad literally my whole life. Really owe my mother a lot. She took me on safari in Botswana, and we went to crocodile farms in South Africa, and every zoo. Like I traveled a lot with my mother as a kid, and every zoo we went to, she would sit and wait for an hour or more just to watch the crocodile blink. She was so supportive of me and what I was interested in, and yeah, I'm so thankful for that. And yeah, what really sort of sparked me off truly was that I'd spent all these years. I had another foray with turtles when I was about 12 or so, and I kept another pair of red sliders for a number of years, until eventually we moved into a house that had a pond, and I thought, oh yeah, great, I'm going to put them outside in the pond. But didn't realize that turtles were fantastic escape artists. Didn't really realize that they would have had to be fenced in, and essentially they were good for maybe 6 months, and then they just disappeared.
Yeah,
Um,
never came back one day.
never came back. So yeah, again, like being a reptile mad kid in New Zealand with no one around me that was interested in reptiles. Like I was literally on an island by myself. No good information. And then it wasn't until I was about 18, I reckon, I was an electrical apprentice, and I was working quite far, like an hour and a half away from where I lived, and I was driving home, and there was a pet shop, and I don't know, I had this urge to go to the pet shop, and I remember just walking in, 18 years old, and there was a fish tank right at the entrance with a blue tongue skink in it, and I was like, holy shit, like where did this come from? Like, and then it was $1,500 for a blue tongue skink. I'm guessing it was an eastern. I actually can't remember what species it was, but if I had to guess, and I just literally I left thinking, okay, I need $1,500. Like, what? How are we gonna do this? And drove home, like super excited. Jumped straight online, and the internet was a different place back then. I'm 37, so back then it was all message boards, like yeah, like just message boards and forums and things like that. And yeah, basically, I was searching around online and found that you could actually keep bearded dragons in New Zealand. And I was like, oh, bearded dragon's way cooler than a blue tongue. So I was like, literally just searching for bearded dragons all of a sudden. Found a guy that was not too far away from where I lived, made contact. And yeah, I got I basically said, look, I want to bearded dragon. And he went, yeah, no worries. What are you going to keep it in? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what am I going to keep it in? And he basically gave me a rundown. He's like, oh, look, I keep in glass tanks with some gravel and some driftwood. And he's like, oh, and other people do this and other people do that. And he said, oh, have a look at, I think it was called beardeddragon.org or something back in the day
Cool.
was the
Yeah.
forum, I think.
Right.
I could be wrong. And I jumped on there and there was people that were like making their own enclosures, converting like old TV stands and dressers, and back then it was um, like the fake grass carpet, like
Yeah. The
so
old
even
AstroTurf.
yeah,
Yeah.
so even back then, like 20 years ago, there was like arguments over the AstroTurf or gravel or sand causes impaction and
It's never ending. It's
yeah,
never ending.
people. But tile was like the A grade way of keeping a better dragon back then was slate tiles or tile or whatever. That's what people did. And
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was looking around and I said to this guy, Sim, his name was, and I said to him, look, I want this bearded dragon, but I'm going to build an enclosure for it. And I literally was driving around one day, found an old TV cabinet, dragged it home, like worked out how to put sliding doors on it, did a whole polystyrene mock and grout background, did the whole thing. And honestly, I think it was at that moment that I actually think I got more hooked on enclosures than I did on actually keeping reptiles. Like that experience was so good, and then yeah, I got my first bearded dragon from him, and it actually started out well, but that bearded dragon ended up having some sort of defect in its neck, um, and I was providing all of the standard of care that was available at the time, UV and heat and all of those sorts of things. But it turned out that it had some sort of neck issue, and at about 8 months old, we actually had to put it down,
Bummer.
which was yeah. So you can imagine, 18 years old, finally think, wow, I can keep reptiles. This is amazing. Start building an enclosure, get this little lizard, like happiest I've ever been, and then just crushed,
Yeah.
So.
Hey, welcome to the reptile world.
Welcome to the reptile world. But
This is
yeah,
how
the
it
guy I
goes
bought it from, he
sometimes.
was he was great, and he replaced it, and then yeah, it's been sort of smooth sailing from there.
This is like truly your origin story, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
pretty
pretty
interesting
much.
to see the progression up until now. So I guess for people listening that might not be familiar with you or what you do, what has that beginning of reptiles led to now?
Yeah, well now it's pretty much a full-time job. I think I mean currently it's my full-time job. I build enclosures for private keepers and zoos, which is just it's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah,
like I kind of always had this dream, and I've finally sort of achieved it, which is really yeah, it's pretty cool. I still moonlight as an electrician a little bit here and there,
yeah,
but we're sort of phasing that out, and it's essentially phased out now. I
yeah.
haven't
That's
done any
awesome, man. That's
electrical,
amazing.
yeah, I haven't done any electrical work in about a month, so yeah, we're
Getting serious.
yeah getting real serious.
Yeah, well, for the people who might be watching the video of this, just behind you there, we can see some of your handiwork there. Now,
Yeah.
what's pretty special about your enclosures is that they're PVC. So, uh, well, why PVC?
Well, look, BBC is kind of what everyone's moving to. It's much lighter than melamine, superior heat retention. It's much more machinable. So I don't know if I shift over, like that's a pond and it's full of water. You can't do that with melamine. When it
No,
comes
you
to like
cannot.
running bioactive setups, um, or high humidity setups and catering for a lot of like the northern species that we have here in Australia, melamine just is not suitable. And even in those climates, melamine in high humidity climates like up from where you're from, you would have issues with melamine.
Yeah.
Even water bowls and stuff are going to cause problems with melamine. Not to say, it's horses for courses. So melamine is a perfect material for some things, but for others, PVC is definitely the way forward, and just what's possible with PVC is much. There's much more.
Yeah. It just seems to be much more durable and just maybe a bit more suitable for the applications that a lot of reptile keepers want to
Yeah,
put them in for.
yeah. Look. I'll be honest about PVC. I think that in terms of its durability, like aesthetically, it certainly can mark and scratch and things like that a lot more
Hmm.
readily than melamine. The only difference is that like I could take a Stanley knife and put a big cut through the front of PVC, and yeah, aesthetically it's not going to look as nice, but its integrity doesn't change. Whereas as soon as you chip or scratch a melamine panel, yeah, moisture's going to get in there, and it's essentially just a ticking clock until it's ruined. So what
Yeah.
what PVC can lack sometimes in aesthetics over time, it's never going to lose its integrity. So it essentially will last you a lot longer.
Yeah, right. I do have a question about it. I've made quite a few enclosures now. I like to have a bit of a tinker with that sort of thing, and I've used mostly melamine actually. But obviously, with melamine and timber and that sort of things, it's a variety of different saws used. So
Yeah,
how do you cut? How do you cut PVC?
I have a CNC.
Yeah. What? How does the CNC operate? I'm not familiar with it.
So it's like three axis, and it's a router or spindle. And essentially, like I said, I'm an electrician by trade. I actually built my first CNC myself, and essentially had to learn how to build it and how it all works and all the new jargon and everything. But basically, you have to learn CAD, so you have to learn how to design stuff in 3D on the computer, and then you run it through a CAM system, which does all the tool paths, and essentially it's all very complicated, but basically you load the sheet onto the CNC, hit go, and the CNC cuts everything for you, essentially.
Right. So you're like programming and coding,
Yeah,
like I guess, and
yeah.
then plug that into the machine, and but it actually, so it's like a router, like it physically it cuts it. It's not like a laser or something like that.
No, no, it's a router. So you can get different types of CNCs, but mine is a CNC router. What's interesting though is that when I first started, I was actually making enclosures on a table saw, and I made wooden jigs for my router. So, for instance, like one of the first big enclosures that I made was when the Komodo dragons were hatched at Australia Reptile Park, which is down the road from me. I actually built that enclosure for the hatchling Komodo dragons, which is pretty incredible. Like what an opportunity, right? But if you compare that enclosure to one of my enclosures now, it's actually not that dissimilar because I essentially had the design in my head already, and I just learned how to do it by hand with a table saw and with a router and jigs. So even all the front vets that you can see, like you can see here, and all
Yeah.
the overlap and the doors and essentially everything, all the rebates and everything I did by hand. And then when I got a CNC, the design didn't really change that much. It's just the CNC did it for me.
Did it for you, made it a bit
Yeah, so
easier.
I mean, I started like literally doing this in the hardest way possible.
Yeah, yeah, right. And
But I
you've
just
just
had this idea in mind, and I was, damned if I wasn't going to achieve it.
well, it's pretty cool that you kind of figured out the idea, the way that you wanted to do things pretty early on in the piece. That's a question I did want to ask is what sort of, I guess, changes in your designs have happened? Like, has there been different sort of adaptations that you've come up with, and different sort of improvements you've made along the way?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I think every enclosure gets 1% better. You know, there's little tiny tweaks. If it's just screw spacings or, you know, you know, every single time there's something I go, oh, okay, I think that could be better, and we make little tiny incremental changes. What's quite funny is that like I have done I've made some really cool enclosures sort of over the last couple of years, but everyone expects my stuff, or at least, when I was sort of more active on social media, I had a lot of nice looking enclosures that I had made for myself. But I think these days everyone expects my room to be full of all these incredible things, and it is like it's still quite impressive in here, but it's like a builder's house is never done, right? So in my house, like all my enclosures are all made from, like they're all prototypes or like scrap parts, or the damaged parts I save for myself. And there's all sorts of like sort of a bit weird stuff. Every enclosure looks a little different.
Yeah,
And
you've got to experiment a little bit.
yeah, exactly. And slowly sort of now I'm changing everything to like the new model. Like we're pretty set on the design and stuff now. So everything's sort of starting to change to the new style.
So what's different from the new style to what you had been doing previously?
Just little things, like just things like the surround, like the thickness of the surround, or the amount of hinges, or the thickness of the height of the substrate dam compared to the top rail. Just little things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Things that you probably wouldn't
nuances.
notice. Yeah, yeah. Things that the normal, like an average person wouldn't notice any difference. But with
Yeah, but
PVC,
you'll build
five
them.
mil, yeah, with PVC 5 mil can make a lot of difference in its structure.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, for instance, like melamine, you can span, like how do I put it? You can span melamine for a lot longer than you can PVC before it wants to bow.
Boeing. Yeah,
Um,
gotcha.
so over 1200 mil PVC will want to bow, but you can engineer around that. Whereas like,
Of
so there's
course, yeah,
just little
bracing and
things.
whatnot.
So yeah, so it's been a lot of sort of testing, like, okay, how thick does this have to be in order to span this distance? Because like, yeah, one of my big things is with enclosures is that I don't personally like central supports. I want
Hmm.
a full clear viewing area. I don't want a center post. A center post would be way easier. Um, but I've tried to engineer around that. And the other thing is like no screws on the front. Like you'll see a lot of PVC manufacturers, they just screw in from the front because that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
But I'm not interested in the easiest way. I'm interested in the best way, or the best, to produce something that I like and that I want to have in my room.
yeah, absolutely. And it shows, obviously. Excuse me. I've been to Aaron Hopper's house and seen some of your work there, and now I'm lucky enough to have a bit here as well, and it's top notch stuff. Um, on your website, there's obviously like a list of I guess sort of standard sized enclosures that you sort of produce, but you also do a lot of custom stuff as well, which I
Yeah.
imagine the custom stuff is what takes a whole lot more effort and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah. So on the website is some of the standard stuff. There's a lot more that's not on there. There's some a lot of sizes that aren't on there. I do a little bit of custom things. Like the thing is that I've spent so much time doing this. No one's really given me an idea yet that I haven't already sort of played with already, or played around with. Ponds and dividers, removable dividers and stuff are all things that people ask for that I've kind of already worked out. But the
Yep.
majority of the custom stuff that I sort of do is that, like for instance, your requirements for humidity up where you are in the far north compared to what I have down in New South Wales are a lot different. So with top mesh or the front fence, like we can change all the sizing of that sort of stuff. Like we can reduce it right down, we can make them smaller, make them less. With the top mesh, we can do half and half, like just the front mesh, just the back mesh, or no mesh, or little strips of mesh, like whatever you want, whatever you feel you need for your animals in your location. we can do in terms of like
Yeah.
obviously every dimension can be customized and to what you want. If you want an enclosure that fits in a gap that's 967 mil wide, then I can give you an enclosure that's 967 mil wide.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's
Yeah.
what's what's the most peculiar enclosure that you've built? What's the oddest one out of them?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think anything. I don't know. I don't think anything's that odd.
Yeah.
I made some enclosures for some pretty cool species, but in terms of like what I would consider odd, I don't know. Like I'm doing some tree snake enclosures at the moment that all have ponds, but I mean I don't know if that's odd. It's not.
Nah.
No one would have ever seen it
Nah.
before. They're
Never
going to be
mind.
one of a
Shit
kind.
question.
Yeah, sorry. I just yeah.
What
I mean
what
I don't want to overcomplicate it. Like it's a box.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, and
You know,
you're gonna put an
when I
animal in
start
it.
doing rounded edges, like rounded boxes or something, like then it
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be weird. But
yeah. So how sort of challenging is it for you to customize it? I guess you just jump into CAD and have a play with different bits and pieces, and then pretty straightforward.
yeah, so all my designs are parametrically controlled. It's a lot of maths. Um, so um, essentially when I change a dimension, I have a lot of, I guess, code is the easiest way to put it, that I've input in there so that when you change one dimension, everything else will change with it. So,
Yeah.
and I have like, it's kind of like, what do they call it? Like if then command. So like if this measurement is this, then this will have to be this.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Now,
it
obviously,
gets
this
a
is
little
a bit.
complicated.
It's a bit beyond my realms of
Yeah.
reality, but it's just like an Excel spreadsheet, where
Yeah,
you
kind of like that. Kind of
make
like that.
cells. Yeah,
Except imagine like 1,000 line items or more.
yeah. Nah, good. Thanks. I'll let you do
Yeah.
the enclosures.
Yeah. It's taken a long time. It's funny for someone that like hated school and really disliked maths. I do a lot of maths now,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I fucking bet you do. How long
Yeah.
have you been doing the PVC stuff? Like, how long ago did you get your first? Well, I was gonna say first CNC machine, but obviously you were doing PVC before that. So, how long
Yeah,
ago
so
were you building them?
I think like I think must be four years or so. But I was
Yeah,
obviously building enclosures before that as well.
yeah.
I used so when I part of the rest of the New Zealand story is actually before I moved here when I was 22. The guy I bought my bearded dragon off, he actually moved to Melbourne, and he ran a business called Exotic Pet Supplies, and he was selling basically bearded dragons, UV tubes and lighting, and he was like a machinist, so he used to make like these custom brackets for lights and all sorts of little things like that. And when he left, I actually
Hmm.
bought his company. So I had a little reptile business between the ages of like 20 and 22 before I moved here. And I actually made enclosures back in New Zealand when I was like 19 or 20. Um,
That's very cool.
yeah, but the funny thing is that when I look around now, like a lot of the guys, and like I'm not trying to throw shade. It just is what it is. A lot of the guys that are making enclosures are cabinet makers who keep like bearded dragons or pythons, and they just make enclosures in their factory in their spare time or whatever, and they're making melamine enclosures the same way that I made them 20 years ago. And
Yeah.
I went on beardeddragon.org and I looked at how they were making them, and I just took that design and I just started making them. So like I've come at it from a different angle where I'm an electrician who's kept a lot of more like, I don't want to say advanced species, but species with more, I don't know, more,
Yeah, they've got like higher care requirements. They
yeah,
just
higher
require a
care
little
requirements.
bit more effort and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. When you try and make a large Mertens water monitor enclosure indoors in a box, you encounter a lot of problems,
yeah.
and you got to fix those problems. You got to work around
Melamine
it.
ain't gonna cut it.
Well, you'd say that, but look, my Mertens enclosure is melamine, made and
Oh,
edged it myself, and it's shit. It must be eight years or something. I've had that, and you can't find a single bit of water damage on it.
damn.
So
Yeah.
and
And,
there's 600 liters of water in it or something. So it's
yeah.
all about
How
how
is
you do it.
how is Doc going? Been seeing
She's
much
good.
Doc content for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. She's good. She's good.
Yeah.
She's just behind me. She's looking quite large, but
Yeah.
yeah, she's
That's
a big
good.
girl.
That's how you want them.
It's a
Yeah.
she's a big girl. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, she's good. She's good.
Yeah. The Mertens are great. I don't know if they're underrated or overrated, but maybe it's just me that didn't rate them until I started keeping them at work, and they're just so relaxed, man. We've got a handful of them, and then we've got mangrove monitors, and
Mm,
the mangrove monitors are just nasty. They're painful.
yeah,
They chase you. They want to bite, and the Mertens just don't care at all.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah. Mine's like,
great
look,
pets.
these, over the years, I wish I could have sort of spent a bit more time with her. When I first got into to monitors, like I was really on that sort of do everything at their pace, like don't pick them up, don't do this, don't do that. And I don't know, I think I'm more convinced that you have to force yourself on them a little bit. Um,
Mm,
and I think that's kind of where I went wrong with her, but she's tolerant. She's like, she's malleable. She's tolerant enough that if I need to check her over or cut her nails or do something with her, like she lets me, but only me, no one else. No one else
yeah.
is. She doesn't really like anybody else other than me.
Well, you can't really ask for much more than that, especially if if you haven't made the efforts like it's and it I believe it is significant effort. I've never gone to the trouble of trying to tame anything or calm anything down. I just
Mm.
sort of deal with animals how they are. But if you haven't put the effort in and you've got something that's malleable and tolerant, that's you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to reptiles, like I don't really have anything. I don't have anything like tame in this room. Like everything's yeah, like having a shoulder dragon isn't something that really inspires me. It's not something that really drives me forward in the hobby. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, there you go.
no,
There
that's
she is.
that's not what you're about. Yeah, I thought I'd just pop up Doc Merton's Instagram here because we're doing a video podcast, so we may as well utilize this.
Yeah,
Very cool. You
yeah,
were quite the popular Instagram page there for a while, mate. Very, very popular.
yeah, yeah. You know what's quite funny is that like I was thinking about this the other day. So I'm in my reptile room right now, and when I first started with my CNC, it was in the garage, which is opposite this room here. So what I found is that when I was really trying to learn how to use the CNC and learning cam, and I was spending hours and hours on the computer just trying things. When I would come downstairs on the weekend, if I turned right, I'd go into the reptile room and I could be creative and make reels and do social media. But if I turned left and I was in the garage, I was very technical and maths, and it was almost like whatever room I went into first, that was the zone I was in for the day. I couldn't do both. And it, and
Yeah,
it, and the next thing, the next big problem I had is that as I started bringing like my prototypes and stuff into the room, and as I started playing around with other things like rock walls and things like that I'm sure we'll talk about later, I had so much in this room that I just couldn't show. Like I was having to not point the camera in this corner or not do this or not do that because I was doing all these things that it might not look like much, but if you look around the world in PVC enclosures, you're not seeing vents like this. You're not seeing ponds. I've had like that glass front pond. I've had glass front ponds in my olive python enclosures for 6 years or something,
yeah, right.
but no one's ever really seen it. So
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like I was just started like until I could really establish myself, I didn't want to really give away too much of what I was doing. So yeah, in the end, I sort of just I have a full workshop now, off-site. It has a little shop. We've really come a long way, but I don't think I ever would have been able to get there if I was trying to maintain the social media to the level that I was. It was
that you
just
were.
it was just too hard.
Yeah,
But now, you think with social media, like it's such an integral part of a business and how a business sort of gets itself out there that you can't really have a business these days without having social media.
No, unless you've got damn good word of mouth. But then,
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be nearly impossible. And I guess for the rate at which you were putting in, I can only imagine you were putting in effort for Doc Merton. It would have been a hell of a lot. Like, I've only started the Instagram for this podcast a couple of months ago, and I'm really not posting too much at all. But I'm like, damn, this is a
yeah,
drain, and I really feel the pressure to continue to post
yeah,
obviously podcasts and posts and reels and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
it takes it out of you.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a real grind, and it just depends on how you are as a person, I think, as well. Like when that page was at its peak, like I could post and I could get 50 messages all in my request, and it's just like it's a lot. It's a lot, and you and
Yeah.
you you on one hand you want to be helpful and you want to answer everybody's questions, but on the other hand, you've really got to protect your bandwidth.
Yeah, oh,
And
100%.
and
Yeah.
I was just in this constant struggle because it's it's like I'm thankful for every one of my followers and all the people that have taken interest in what I've done over the years. But then it's also like there's a fine line between when you start helping somebody and then they just want more and more, and then they treat you like Google rather than like just doing the research themselves.
Doing the
And it's like
research themselves. Yeah.
you're trying to be polite, but it's like and then eventually I sort of you sort of get into this zone where it's like I don't want to enter a conversation with this person, even though I'm sure they're going to be lovely and we're going to have a great conversation, but I can't risk the amount of energy this
Energy.
person
Yeah.
wants from me,
Yeah.
you
100%.
know?
I get that.
And
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 you end up feeling like a dick. It's
yeah,
like I feel like a dick
100%.
because I'm not responding to the person, or I'm going to get the shits because they're kind of pestering me.
Yeah, 100%. And with Doc's page, um, I like when I was at a peak and I was still working as an electrician, and I moved an hour and a half north of Sydney to the Central Coast, which was the best thing I ever did. But I was still commuting 2 hours each way, basically, to work 8 to 12 hours a day. And then, I was getting up at 4 a.m. to start work at 7, and then, finishing work at 5 to get home at 7, and still trying to
Mental.
run habitats as a business and still trying to look after all my reptiles. And
Yeah.
yeah, it just like I literally hit a peak with social media, and then I just stopped.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. It just wasn't manageable um anymore. So I mean, look, I,
And
I think,
it's
yeah, there's a lot of people out there that really want to be big on social media when it comes to reptiles, and like power to them. And I don't know if my situation was just unique, but and there's obviously a lot of people out there have got big followings, and that's great. And I don't know what their messages look like, but man, mine were nuts, you know.
I guess it could be different if the social media page was like if it was your Habitats at Home page where it's your business and it's directly linked to you know the world. Money makes the world go round. It's directly linked to profit. Then I guess maybe it could make responding and engagement
Yeah,
and maybe a little bit easier.
yeah, 100%. And
Um,
look, with the Doc Murden page, I got given like some. It's not like sponsorship. I got offered a lot of sponsorships, but I turned them all down. Actually got offered a lot of sponsorships.
yeah,
Um,
right.
but it was all like products, make a review, do this, do that. And like the thing for me is that I was making very good money as an electrician, and they were trying to give me like a $200 filter for free to write a review. And I was like, well,
Nah,
I have a enclosure business and I have wholesale accounts. I'll just go and buy whatever filter I want and not
yeah,
make a review,
not
you know,
spend the time.
and not
Yeah,
spend the time. So for me, like sponsorships and stuff just weren't really, unless they were going to give me cash, it wasn't really worth it. So
yeah.
I turned a lot of that stuff down. But otherwise, like I got given like some whiskey or some this and some that, which was
Oh yeah,
all,
hell
you
yeah.
know, which was great. I'm stoked with that. But I never made a dollar off Instagram. Um,
Yeah.
the only
It,
thing
it
that it
seems
did
like
do, the only thing that it did do, and what did help me is that obviously, like I said, growing up in New Zealand, when I moved to Australia and started running and started the doc account, I didn't know anyone in the hobby. Like, I was literally alone. I didn't show my face or speak or do anything on the page for a very, very long time. Um, I noticed pretty quickly, like, there was a lot of people that, in the hobby that were super, super supportive, and then others just hated everything that you did. And it became, it's kind of interesting how you sort of see things like when you don't actually enter the hobby, like physically, but you can sort of see it on social media from the outside. You realize like this person and this person are aligned and they don't like those people. And you kind of see all the drama and this, you get a high follow account and all of a sudden everyone wants to be your friend. And, and it's like you're trying to be friends with someone like you don't know me,
Yeah,
So
no, just
it's such a
pictures of a lizard.
it's such a weird sort of a thing when it comes to social media. Like it really is kind of
Yeah,
a very, very sort of different kettle of fish, really.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I'm pretty bad for it. I can get really wrapped up into it, and there's times where I just need to detox. Every so often, I'll just take a week or a month off it, and it's crazy. Your brain just goes back to normal. It's like, oh, hang
yeah,
on,
yeah,
that's all
yeah,
good. Funny that I don't need that actually in my life,
yeah,
but now with the podcast, I kind of should continue
yeah.
to
It's totally
post
like
on it.
it's
But
and like, sorry, like I was saying, is that because I wasn't part of the hobby, like I didn't know anyone. When I did sort of start showing my face and really sort of being like putting myself out there, I'd sort of gained the respect of a lot of people, I think, and it sort of opened a lot of doors. So obviously, I was making enclosures for myself. People liked my enclosures, and like even with habitats, I'm 3 years in, but I've still never really done any advertising. Like other than a few little things here and there, it's all been word of mouth. And as soon as I started sort of saying, "Hey, I'm actually going to start building enclosures," um, people Hopper or Jake Meaney, and you really took a chance on me. And I've done Taronga Zoo and all sorts of cool things. Um, but like it's almost like I've done some really cool stuff and made enclosures for some amazing animals, but because it's not on social media, it's almost like it didn't happen.
yeah, and
It's like
that
it's
yeah,
like I've
like
done all this
it's
cool stuff, but nobody knows about it because I
yeah,
haven't posted it. It almost
yeah,
like it's like it happens in a vacuum, and I have to remind myself sometimes. It's like, no, it did happen. I did it. Like I'm very
yeah,
proud of myself, but
yeah.
just
That
because it's
was
not on
really
social
fucking cool.
media doesn't
Yeah,
mean that
yeah,
it's it didn't happen.
yeah. Dive
Um,
back into the camera roll and go down memory
yeah,
lane and remember. Oh yeah, hang on, that was
yeah,
actually really cool.
yeah. So the social media definitely opened a lot of doors for me in that respect, and I'm very happy that I put all that time into it back then, and my plan is to start doing it again because I actually do enjoy it. Um,
Yeah,
and I feel like in that space, I have a lot to offer, especially now, like um, now that we've got some really cool new products and stuff like that I really want to showcase and get out there. It's definitely worth the energy. But that's the difference, right?
absolutely.
When you've got I was actually looking at trying to port or change the name of the Doc Murden account to Habitats at Home, but it's like basically impossible.
Yeah, right.
They say you can do it,
Fascinating.
but you actually try and do it. It's basically impossible. So I mean, eventually what will happen now is that like any energy put into the Habitats at Home account has the potential to transfer into an income.
Yeah,
Um, so I eventually I think I'll just phase out Doc Murden completely and move across to do everything through Habitats.
yeah. Just share everything as a story on document from Habitats at
Yeah,
Home
exactly.
every single time.
That's I mean that's kind of what I've been doing anyway,
Yeah. Well, let's
but
talk about the new products. What's going on at
but
Habitats at Home?
yeah, so on the weekend at the Illawarra Expo, we just debuted our new rock wall products, which you can see behind me there.
Can
Even
see
the
behind you.
pond. We
Yeah.
got a few other things. They're not up on the website yet. We're still in early days, working out colors and things like that. But if anyone's interested, yeah, just send me a message through Instagram or whatever. I can show you what we've got. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's something that I've basically worked on for Yeah, literally, not too long after I got my first bearded dragon when I was 18, I discovered making rocks and things like that, and discovered some other products that were out there, and I thought, well, I want to do that. And yeah, it's taken 18 years. We made our first prototypes about 6 years ago, and basically up until now, like the last couple of months. Well, actually the last year or so, I'd say, since moving into a workshop and having a lot of space to have multiple projects going on at a time, and meeting the right people, like we now actually have yeah, some products on the go, and right now we have these rock walls behind, like these are light and flexible and can be rolled up and sent, and we also have things like feature rocks and hides and water bowls and stuff coming out. So
Very cool.
yeah, it's very, very
What's
cool. So.
so what is the, I guess, the concept behind the rock walls? What are they made of firstly, and what does install look like?
So they're made out of rubber. You'd be familiar with the product. It's similar to another product that's out on the market. Um, but basically, it's you can cut it with a Stanley knife down to the size to suit your enclosure, and you just stick it in with silicon.
Simple,
It's,
very
it's very
easy.
simple. It's very simple. Yeah, there's you can cut it, and if you've got a little bit of skill, you can join it and add sort of little bits in between. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do. You can fold it to make giant ledges. It's a very versatile and lightweight product. And we're coming out with multiple colors too. So we've got like a darker rainforest color, kind of looks like the one that's behind me. We've got like a red rock color for that sort of NT red colored rock. We've got a sandstone color to suit more like the Sydney Basin sort of species stuff around here, and then like a desert sand, like a more of a yellow color. Um, so being in Australia, we want to, and only being able to keep Australian animals, we want to cater to Australian animals.
Yeah, of course. Well, I tell you what, I am not the kind of person that's very creative at all. I've done one rock wall, and my partner did most of it. Like, props to her for sitting there, putting all the tile pointing on it, and painting it all up. But I guess some content that I would be really interested in seeing from you is how you do go about, the applying it, the installs, and
Yeah,
just, I guess,
absolutely.
sort of what is possible with it, because it's a damn awesome product. I've got some here actually. I should have had it right next to me, so I got to hold it up like
Yeah,
this.
I should have had some here. I've
You
got
should
that bit
have,
behind. I've got
mate.
that bit behind me, but I should have had something to show. Um,
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Can't wait to see that in cages all around the country. I reckon it's going to go off.
yeah, and that's how we see it. Adding a background to your enclosure just increases the surface area by so much. Um, we at the
Oh,
end of the day,
totally.
we're keeping reptiles in small boxes, so to maximize the area that they can actually use, a rock wall is a no-brainer. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
and we
Especially for
also
lizards.
Yeah, and we also we provide these printed backgrounds through Luke at from Bush to Box, and we're working together to create some backgrounds in the future where the actual rock wall and the image on the sidewalls sort of ties in.
Ah, cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, so eventually the goal is to have an image, or multiple images with rocks in the background that sync, color match to the rocks that we've got on the back. And
Fascinating.
these side images, what Luke's doing is amazing, Um, for me personally, I think you have to have a rock wall in the back. Like I said, it creates so much more surface area, but I find that when you have all three walls in rock, it starts to look like a cave.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
Whereas like once you have like these printed backgrounds and you start filling them in with live plants and things like that, it just makes the enclosure look it gives it so much more depth. It makes it look so much
Depth.
bigger.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And definitely a big positive with your product is that it's light. Like when
yeah,
you start, dicking around with, fake rock walls and whatnot, you start adding concrete or tile pointing or even real rocks, it gets heavy
yeah,
real quick.
yeah, absolutely. So I just this is empty at the moment. I had this set up for the expo in Illawarra on the weekend. Anyone that came along would have seen a very nice Prasinus cruising around in there. Um, but yeah, when it was full, like full of soil and plants and obviously no water, but full of plants and soil and some branches and stuff that I had in there, that enclosure would have weighed probably 80 kilos, which
Oh,
is was but for two people, that's nothing.
yeah, it's manageable, definitely.
Yeah,
And it's
like
not small. Like, what
no,
are the
it's not
dimensions
small.
on that enclosure?
It's
If you know, like,
1200 by 600 by 1400 is the top section, and then it has a 1200 by 600 by 500 cabinet underneath to
yeah,
hide the filter.
is that 80 kilos in total?
I
Like
mean,
stand and
probably
lid and top side. Sorry.
with the stand, I don't know, like 95 or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It's really
that's
not.
still
It's really
impressive.
not that heavy. I mean, even 100
Yeah,
kilos between two men shouldn't be that much.
yeah. Um, One thing I want to mention before I forget is I was very impressed with you a little while ago. You spoke about how you are obviously very conscious of your plastic waste, so you
Yeah,
have created an eco range.
yeah. So the eco range is look, I don't want to. Plastic is an issue for me. Obviously, I make a product out of plastic. Like I'm a scuba diver. I hate little bits of plastic. I do as much as I can to make sure that plastic is disposed of in the best way that we can. But with PVC, a lot of times when we get offcuts and some pieces get damaged. So what I've been doing is I've been saving up all of those pieces and making smaller enclosures out of those damaged pieces, and then selling them for a lower rate, basically. Um, it's just to make sure that usable plastic that isn't in A grade condition doesn't just end up in the tip.
Yeah, and that's awesome. It creates, something that might be a bit more achievable for people,
Yeah,
who maybe don't want to fork out the money for a full blown enclosure. They can get something that's a bit more affordable.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, do you
small,
want
it's a
to?
small step. It's a small step, but it's a step.
It's
Um,
a step indeed. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about tree snakes?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Yeah,
let's get into it. I think they're mostly a pain in the ass, but you love them.
they're the best. Number
I think
one.
that they're good when they're good, but when they're painful, they're very painful.
I think they're only
Um,
painful when they're not established.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Once
absolutely.
they're established, they're a dream. Yeah, so I've been breeding tree snakes for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I've
common
kept
tree
them.
snakes. That is too, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyone
common,
listening?
common. Um, I've bred them the last 2 years successfully. I say successfully, but a lot of problems over that time as well. Like there's certainly a finicky species with a lot of little quirks. I've kept them now for I think maybe 6 or 7 years. I've kept tree snakes, but just through not having mature enough adults at the right time, or even like I had a mature pair that they just were incompatible. The female just didn't want anything to do with the male I had, and as soon as I got another male and put him in there, it was straight away. So
Straight
like
onto it. Yeah.
straight away. So like I would actually say that if you've got like they're quite easy to breed as long as you've got compatible pairs. Um, but yeah,
What are your
I've
thoughts on feeding them? That's
yeah. So
pretty
I
vague. Feeding
Yeah, no,
adults,
well, I
maybe.
know the common thing about feed. Everyone says they're very hard to feed, and I really don't have any issues getting them to eat. I think it's very easy, but that's
What
just me. I
what's
guess
your
my experience.
what's your technique?
Fish,
Yep.
fish. I think where people go wrong is that and I'm going to give away my little secret here. But I think where people go wrong is that they keep a lot of them together in one enclosure, and they just put a water bowl in full of fish, and then the ones that eat, and it seems that the ones that don't. And I don't necessarily think that's the best approach. My situation's a little bit different. I have maybe you can pull up a photo actually. If you
Yeah.
go
Let's try
to
and do that.
you find one of the nurseries. So I I build nurseries. They're designed around the tree snakes, but they can be customized to suit any sort of hatchling setups. I don't want to get too much into the ethics of rat keeping, but it's our policy at Habitats at Home that we won't build racks. Um, and these nurseries are our answer to racks basically. So each one of those has a baby tree snake in it, and that's basically the simple setup that I keep the hatchlings in. And this way I know what's eating what. Um,
Yeah, well, I
and
mean, if you can't keep a track, you really need to keep track I think baby snakes in general, especially these things having such fast metabolisms or high metabolisms, you really need to get the food into them, and they can lose condition pretty rapidly, in my experience, when they're small at
yeah,
least.
look, I'm not super convinced that a high metabolism necessarily means that they need to constantly eat. Um, I tend to feed them as often as they want to be fed. And quite often I find that like even the young ones, they won't eat more than once a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced that just because they have a high metabolism that they require constant feeding. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really have any sort of explanation for that other than my experience.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's fair enough.
I'm certainly
Um,
not starving them, but I've also found that if I try and feed them every 2 or 3 days, they just don't want it.
yeah, yeah. And yeah,
Um,
there's only so much you can feed them, and listening to the animal is seeing what they're up to is really the way to go when keeping animals sort of in
yeah,
general.
yeah, for sure. But I'll give you, if
Um,
you look at that little hide, the little
this one
hide
here.
there, yeah, the little black pot lid at the back there. Essentially, the trick to get them feeding is that you wait until they're in that hide, and you just take a fish. So I have a tank here, and I have a shop, so I buy feeder fish in bulk, and essentially I keep them in a fish tank, and I make sure that I leave them in there for a few days before I feed them out, just to make sure any of like the pet shop tank water or chemicals or whatever is flushed out. If a fish is going to die in the first few days of being in my house, then it's not a fish that I want to feed
You want to feed out
um,
to an animal, yeah.
to a feed out to a tree snake. So um, basically, once I've given them a couple of days, I just wait until they're in that hide, and then you just put the fish straight in the hide
Straight in.
and straight in, and basically it flops around and pisses them off, and some of them, most of the time, they're going to eat it.
Yeah,
I think
it's pretty
that
handy.
whenever you're talking about tree snakes, people are saying, "Oh, does it eat pinkies? Does it eat rats? Does it eat this? Does it?" Everyone's so focused on them eating pinkies,
Rodents,
rodents,
yeah,
but I mean, there's no argument that the rodents aren't the best thing for them to eat, but also I've found that a lot of I've had tree snakes choke on pinkies. I've literally rescued a lot of tree snakes from choking. Like literally, it's halfway through the mouth, like you see in the image right now, and they just can't get it down. I've had to pull it out, and it's basically at the beginning, like when I first started, I thought, oh, this pinky's the right size, but they just for some reason it gets stuck. Like I've actually had one pass that fully ate, everything was fine, and then when I came back, it was just dead with the pinky inside it, fully swallowed.
yeah.
Um, and I think that people try and get them on pinkies too quickly.
Too fast,
Um,
yeah.
and I think
Well,
that, yeah, and like these ones are all captive bred. Um, whereas, I don't know how much you want to sort of get into it, but the tree snake market isn't the cleanest.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and there's a lot of people that are breeders that have a clutch of eggs 6 weeks after they've got the snake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a
and
bit
now they're
sus.
and now they're a breeder, and then basically as soon as they can get a photo of a pinky in its mouth
It's gone.
to send to a customer, that thing's
It's got
sold.
for 2 grand probably.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
not something that I'm willing to do. So I make sure that um when I breed them, but I don't sell them at the moment. I just keep them all to myself. So
yeah,
before
just
anyone
just hoarding them.
before anyone tries to message me, I don't have any. Um, yeah, I do hoard them. Only because this is a very long-term project for me. I'm not trying to make the maximum dollar. I'm thinking about where these tree snakes are going to be in 30 years time. So I'm not really interested in selling them off. I'm trying to keep them and see what I've sort of got. And I've got some pretty cool stuff showing up. But
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, I'm eager to see where you take that. I do have an interesting experience with the tree snake that I don't think I'd shared with you, but I had
Hmm.
one a while ago that I just fed it. It was to be fair, it was a pretty big pregnant guppy. The snake ate the guppy, no worries. But then the snake went into a shed like immediately, and I didn't notice it. Like literally within minutes, the
Hmm.
shed got stuck on the guppy inside the snake and essentially strangled the snake and killed it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I think you have mentioned that to me
So,
actually.
man, I just
Yeah, it's
walked in. I was
crazy,
like,
eh? Like,
"What? How?
yeah,
What do you?"
yeah,
Ah,
yeah. I
the guppy
think that
wasn't
I
huge, but I was like, "Fucking hell, man,
I think that
painful."
tree snakes definitely fit into that category, kind of like turtles, where in the wild, like they lay a lot of eggs, a lot come out. They're perfect food size. They're so small, and I think that their sort of strategy is to hatch a lot and then a small percentage survive. Because I find as
Yeah.
well, like some just fail to thrive. Like I've had some that just I've never like I think I've bred 20 something tree snakes. I've never had one I couldn't get feeding. But I've
Nice.
definitely had
That's
some
awesome.
that just for
Don't
whatever
thrive. Yeah.
reason they just drop off.
Yeah. And so food guppies or fish in the water bowl, hey? Or no, fish in the hide.
Straight in, yeah, straight in. I find yeah, I mean, I don't love like I think that the trick with tree snakes is that in order for them to be healthy, they have to eat everything. If you're just feeding them rats, you're dooming them. And
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and in order them for they eat everything, they have to eat off tongs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I skip the water bowl. I want them to be so trained on movement and something in front of them that basically once I move across the tongs, anything that's on the end of those tongs, they're gonna eat.
Yeah. They are super visual animals. Obviously, they got massive heads.
Yeah,
Sorry, massive eyes.
yeah,
And they're diurnal hunters. And I've seen tree snakes hunt. Actually, it was sick. I was in Iron Range a few years ago having a prawn roll at the Portland Roads Cafe, which is amazing. And a northern tree snake literally just launched off the deck I was on and hunted down a Kalia and ate it right in front of me. It
yeah.
was
That's
epic. But I'm like, how did you see that Kalia like
yeah,
from 15 meters away and just smoked it? It was epic. Where am I going with this? They're visual hunters, and
yeah.
then
Well, they're
you
they're,
get them
they're
eating shit off
super.
tongs. It's great.
Obviously, they're diurnal, so and they're super curious. Like as I walk around my room, like I've got a lot of them, and they're always looking at you. Little heads, and they're always like trying to peek at what you're doing. They're always super. They sort of
Yeah.
periscope up through the leaves and stuff. Like they're always sort of looking at what's going on.
Do you get them doing the
Yeah,
undulating?
yeah. The
Cool way.
wiggle.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
videos on Doc's page actually of a snake doing the wiggle.
Let me get that up. Uh, this
I
one.
I often
This
wonder
one.
if it's like mimicking sort of leaves in the breeze or like branches in the breeze. If you go
It
down.
must be. It must be. I've seen boom slangs or videos of boom slangs doing it too.
Um,
A lot of tree snake content. I like it.
yeah, maybe that one on the left. Maybe that one on the
This one.
left. Yeah, maybe that one. No, not that one.
They are
Yeah,
funky things, man. They
yeah,
are
they're
pretty
really cool.
groovy. Is that eating a quail there? I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well,
If you
that's
go
right.
up,
We spent
actually, I'll show
spent.
you a different one. If you go up, go up, go up, up, up. That one in the middle. Yeah, that one.
This guy.
Yeah, so that's actually
Oh
eating
yeah.
eating a pinky
Underwater.
completely underwater, backwards actually, but completely submerged,
Of course, backwards. Why not?
which is pretty cool.
Man, That is very cool. And these are the things that you like. We often have instances like this at work where an animal's, just doing something that's real wacky, and it's like, do you just let it figure it out?
Hmm.
Do you leave it be? Usually, I just leave it be because they're usually pretty switched on. Like this
Yeah.
thing's not gonna. Well, maybe it'd sacrifice breathing for eating eating something. They're not all that
Yeah,
bright
well,
sometimes.
the thing is though is that I quite often find them, the ones that have like deep water like that, I find them just sitting there completely submerged for ages anyway.
Hmm.
So it's not something that
Interesting.
it's like they actively do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess they'd be actively eating fish in the wild too, so they probably spend a bit of time in water, at least when they're small.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I've always so when they've done like stomach content studies on them, they've never really found birds. It seems to or frogs, lizards,
Frogs. Yeah.
and some mammals. But logic tells me that a snake cruising through the trees would come across chicks,
One would assume.
right? But a diurnal animal is probably not going to come across rodents.
Yeah. No.
Um,
Not often anyway.
yeah, and I mean, people say that you shouldn't feed them with rodents with hair, which I don't. But I've never really had issues with them eating quail, so I tend towards quail. Oh, there's a bit of a wiggle.
Yeah, I think quail's good. We feed out a fair bit of quail to the tree snakes at work too. And it's funny. Do you ever have them go on like hunger strikes? Like we've got this
Look,
one male that just refuses to eat for like months at a time.
um, not. I mean, not really. Most of mine will eat all year, like even
Yeah,
through winter. Most of mine aren't refusing food. I
yeah.
definitely have some finicky ones. I've got one at the moment actually that's been eating all year, and then literally in the last week has gone off food. But I haven't introduced a male or anything to her.
Yeah,
Um, that one in the video, that thing's a chainsaw. That female there, she's a weapon of a thing.
yeah. There is a bit of a wiggle there. That's very cool.
Yeah, she's a weapon of a thing. She will bite and bite a lot. But once you get her out, she's fine. But anything that goes inside there is toast.
Yeah, it's a beautiful enclosure too. Very nice.
Yeah, it's actually the
Um,
last. That's the last of the enclosures. That's an Exoterra. That's like the last of the enclosures that I've got that I didn't like build
you didn't
myself.
build. Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
the fit out inside I did,
yeah,
but yeah, it's not like one of mine. It's gonna go soon. It'll get replaced. But
yeah. No doubt. Well, have you got any particular highlights in your reptile career that stand out to you?
yeah, there's a couple. So I would say that um, catching my first Merdens up in the NT was insane. Like just such an insane experience. Um, and swimming with them up in the NT. Like I've got footage of like yeah, I mean, just definitely not a smart thing to do, but snorkeling around in a water body, clear water body in the NT. Um, um,
Happens.
yeah, but yeah, with two Merdens swimming around, which was just insane. So I think that's definitely like a highlight of my herping career. Also finding an Owen Pally, that was a highlight of herping career as well.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
a massive one. Massive
yeah,
one.
so that those are my herping highlights. I would say in my keeping highlights, breeding tree snakes was definitely a big goal for me. And then in my professional career, yeah, just been yeah, like I said, I've made enclosures now for Komodo dragons, king cobras, um, some of the like the smaller I'm not sure I'm actually not sure which species, but some other cobras at Taronga, eyelash vipers, prasinus, um, Fijian crested iguanas. It's like some just insane stuff that you got to think like a 5-year-old Kiwi boy insane on Steve Irwin could never have dreamed to be in Australia building enclosures for Komodo dragons. You know,
Yeah,
like
man,
it's
that
pretty
runs
nuts.
deep. That's
It's pretty
awesome.
nuts.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And also to think that, like the first enclosure that like Habitats at Home, the business built professionally for a zoo was for Komodo dragons. We didn't like
Epic.
we didn't ramp up, you know what I mean? We went to the
Yeah.
Grail
Yeah,
first go,
literally
which was pretty cool.
kicked it off with a bang, big time.
Yeah. So I'm very happy and very thankful for all the people that have given me the opportunities to sort of do what I love and make enclosures for these amazing creatures.
Yeah. Well, I'd also like to say I'm very thankful for you, mate. I think you messaged me within about an hour of posting the podcast at the
Yeah.
very start of it, offering to come on board as a sponsor. So I'm very happy to have you along, mate. It's awesome and it's a privilege. So thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to be on board, man. It was a no-brainer for me as soon as I saw it. Oh, you're sly though, because we'd been having lots of conversations for weeks, and you didn't even mention it.
Well, I wasn't trying to get too because I realized when I started telling people about it, I actually had to do it.
Yeah, but
I was a
that's the
bit
trick.
unsure. So yeah,
Accountability, that's the trick.
yeah. Well, it's fucking out there now. Got to do it now.
Yeah, well, it's good,
Um,
man. Look, no regrets. I'm happy to be on board. Like you're doing an amazing job, and yeah, I think again, like it's great to have a podcast in Australia that's talking about what we enjoy and what we like.
yeah, absolutely. And what's awesome too is you can go back and listen to it again. Like, I don't know how many conversations I've had with like old school reptile guys or whatever, and just been like, fuck, I wish I could listen to that again. Or what was it that he
Mm.
said about that? And yeah, so hopefully this podcast can act as that for some people maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always interesting to see like how other people do it and how, people that have come before us have the older generations, like even older than me, like not that I'm super old, but I'm not one of the young ones. Um,
Yeah. Nor am
you
I,
know,
mate. Don't worry about that.
yeah,
Nor
well,
am
that's
I.
the thing. That's the thing. I think that even the most experienced keepers can learn something, especially from like the new crowd. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely. It's always
I
evolving.
actually I actually find that these days like I have respect for the older generations than the ones that came before us, but I find that when they're a lot of the time they're still doing the same thing they've done for 20 years because it works.
Yeah.
Um, I'm more interested in I'm more interested in the young guys finding the stuff that doesn't work. Like, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try this. Oh, that doesn't work. Let's try
Yeah.
this. That didn't work. That's
Yeah.
what gets me going. I'm not
There's a
interested in
difference.
what's worked for 20 years. Just
Well,
because it
yeah.
works doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah. That's
I feel like in the hobby we've reached a mid-tier and gone, that's good enough. They survive and they breed. Don't touch it.
well, that
Just
was once the standards was it's breeding. We're doing the right job, but
yeah.
um, an old, I guess, mentor of mine, Tom Crutchfield, he always said that often animals will breed in spite of what you do. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's not
100%.
a good metric for how successful you are necessarily as a keeper.
Yeah, animals are sort of instinctual to reproduce,
Oh,
and
genetically predisposed to.
how much of them reproducing is actually a response to what's going on in these conditions. I'm terrified. Uh, this is not optimum. I need to, you know,
Spread my seed and then
spread my
dip.
seed. Just I just don't think that yeah, the criteria that which we judge reptiles on these days is not it's just not the same as it used to be.
As it used to
Um,
be, yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely a trend towards trying to do better. What I guess one thing that I guess I've noticed is, it always used to be about breeding. No one ever used to just buy one animal. In
mm,
my experience, I guess it was always getting two to breed. But there's definitely people out there that they'll just buy one animal because they love it and they'll do their best to set it up in the best possible housing and conditions that they possibly can. And that's awesome. I think that's great.
yeah, I think it's great too, but I think that you look at the boom that reptiles have had globally. Like if you look at like the shows and stuff in the States and just how mainstream reptiles have become in a lot of ways. Like, I think that I don't mean this in an offensive way, but I truly think that like bearded dragon keepers and leopard gecko keepers and maybe like some of like the Antaresia keepers, like they're reptile keepers, but they're not truly like in our hobby. Like they go to the pet shop to buy stuff for their bearded dragon, like they would buy food for their cat. It's
Yeah.
they've almost like they're not they're
Well, they're almost like they're pet keepers. They've got a pet.
exactly they're not
Yeah.
reptile enthusiasts. They have a bearded dragon and it's their
Yeah.
pet. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like the Kardashians had a bearded dragon and they were like painting its nails and putting diamantes
God.
on its what do you call it?
On
Why
its
does it escape me?
head.
The third eye. Why is the name?
Periodal eye. Periodal
Yeah,
eye.
yeah, that's the word. And like that's what more evidence do you need that they've crossed over?
Yeah. 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 That's
You know?
awesome. I think it's great. Yeah. Definitely
Yeah,
becoming more and more mainstream.
and I think as apartment living and smaller houses become more popular, then yeah, just having the one fish tank or just having the one snake and the one bearded dragon is kind of becoming like quite common. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it might be a thing to do with, I guess, my generation, I guess the millennials and the Gen Z is they're not looking for as much commitment anymore in terms of a
mm,
pet. Like a snake, man, if you need to go away for a holiday or want to go away for a few days or a week or whatever, probably
yeah,
pretty much going to take care of itself. You don't
yeah,
need to stress
exactly,
too much.
exactly. They're the perfect pet for someone with an active lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, but then I think like I don't know the way we do some things. Like I always think turtles are amazing. I've loved turtles my whole life. I love them. But I just think that so many people think they like turtles, and then they put them in a tiny tank with nothing to do, and then they
Yeah.
just splash around all day
Yeah.
trying to get out, and
Yeah.
then
And
they go,
then,
"Oh, these guys are quite boring." And it's like,
yeah,
well, if you give them something to do and given them an environment that they can use, that's not just a floating dock and some,
4 foot glass fish tank. Yeah.
yeah, that they're bumping off all the time, like they can be interesting and they can be exciting. Like watching a turtle rip apart a yabby is awesome,
Great.
like,
Yeah.
but
Do you keep any
people,
turtles now?
I used to, I used
Yeah.
to, I had a Maclay's, but he passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I keep about 300 or 400 yabbies at a time
Yeah. Good. And yeah,
though.
that's your main food source for the
For
Mertens,
dark,
obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wish I had some other animals that eat them. I really want like I'd love to keep like is it a Bockadam?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they, I think they
yeah
eat yabbies.
semi-aquatic.
Yeah,
No, they're mostly aquatic. Yeah, little snakes.
yeah. And as far as I'm aware, they
Hobolopsis.
they
Yeah.
eat yabbies. So like, I would love to keep something like that.
Yeah. Hey,
Just
speaking of things I know you'd love to keep, have you seen all the clutches of keelbacks that Elliot's been getting?
yes, yes, I have. Yes, I have. I'm
He's a
very
real piece of
jealous.
work, that guy.
I'm very jealous. Yeah, no, I've
Uh,
got one eye right on that.
oh yeah, finger on the pulse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One day he might let some go.
Maybe we'll keep poking him with a stick.
That's the thing is that like that's what really drives me in this hobby. Like I think that like I love all reptiles, but there's certain species that I don't think I would ever keep just because the enclosure just doesn't get me excited, like
Yeah,
frillies or blue tongues. Like I just like a frilly, an upright branch, okay? Like it just doesn't
yeah.
just
Doesn't do
doesn't
it for
get
you.
me doesn't get me going, you know what I mean? Whereas like, anything with water or anything that'll utilize water, that starts really when you can create sort of like multiple areas and enclosure for that animal to exhibit different behaviors, and that's what gets me going. I'm lucky that my reptile room's quite big, um, but like I like big enclosures. I like small animals, big enclosures.
Big
That's
enclosures. Yeah.
that's
I
that's what
mean,
does it for me.
that's what really gets us excited is seeing animals do their natural behaviors. It's the
Yeah,
best.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm desperate to upgrade Doc's enclosure, but I remember like when she was smaller, like if you go on Wikipedia or whatever, it'll say something like Merdins, they bask on branches over the river, and then when something comes, they're often seen jumping off, and diving into the water. Like there's like a line if you look on Wiki. And I
Right.
remember I was like, okay, when I built the enclosure, I'm going to make a branch over the water. And then, yeah, that's what she does. That's what she did.
Oh, she does?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Not
awesome.
anymore because she's not.
I thought you were gonna say she doesn't do it.
No, no, not. I mean, not now because she's not scared of anything, right? But when she was younger, like she would be chilling on the branch, and then you'd come in, and then she'd
Pew!
dive into the water, and I love that. That's
Yeah.
what gets me going to sort of, to take what we know from natural history and then trying to recreate those behaviors. So it might
Yeah.
look, it's only small, but that's obviously something that they exhibit in the wild, and if I can sort of give that to them in a box, then I think that's, again, it's not a, you're never going to recreate the wild entirely, but any steps you can take to push towards that more wild environment, I think is only positive. And I think that in this hobby, there's there's definitely an attitude where it's like, well, we're never going to recreate the sun, we're never going to recreate the wild. It's impossible to do, so we're not even going to try.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not quite right, is it?
No, like I think that even 0.5% in the right direction is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, definitely a trend towards that. Definitely people always trying to one up themselves and do a better job.
Yeah. And there's
All right.
also there's also yeah, no, you go. You cut
No,
me
no, keep
off.
going. You're on a roll.
No, I was just going to say there's definitely like a thing where it's like, well, I tried it, it didn't work for me, and therefore it's no good.
Yeah.
You know, is it like the bioactive one comes to mind a lot, where it's like you've got someone that tries their first bioactive enclosure, it didn't go to plan. They got soil from Bunnings, plants from Bunnings, they've got don't have a proper drainage layer, and it's like, oh yeah, I tried it, it didn't work. My plants
Yeah.
died, my cleanup crew all died. Bioactive doesn't work,
Yeah,
you
well, I
know?
mean, if there's one thing that you learn from reptile keeping along the ways is that what works for others might not work for you, and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it also comes down to you tried once,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
true.
you failed 10 more times,
Yeah, and then you might have a crack.
and then you might get it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of my attitude towards things. I think we try and do better, try little things at a time. Maybe going fully bioactive in one go wasn't the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe putting live plants into your existing enclosure and just trying to keep them alive should have been the first step.
Yeah, you
You
can't go
know,
from a newspaper tub to a full-blown
exactly,
bioactive tank and think it's going to
exactly.
take the same care.
So yeah, I think that always striving to be better, but sometimes just taking smaller chunks, like little bites, rather than
Then jumping into it. Yeah.
jumping into it.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, I've got one more question, if that works for you.
mhm.
It's just a real basic one. It's just a bit of fun. It's if you could work with any reptile from anywhere in the world, what would it be and why?
I would like, um,
Don't say keelbacks.
nah, I like the bronzebacks.
Oh yeah,
You like all those little bronzeback species, all the real colorful ones.
I
Just
can't say
anything
I'm
in
surprised.
Dendrolaphus, anything in Dendrolaphus, I would take. All of that stuff I
Yeah,
find really cool.
yeah. There's some really stunning species in the Dendrolaphus. There's some crazy stuff, and then a whole lot of undescribed species all throughout
Mm.
PNG as well. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, anything like that, I think. Oh, and you know what else I love is those like red-sided garter snakes.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
froth them, man. They're so cool.
But how cool
They're
are they? You
so
keep them
cool.
in a big group, and they all just
Oh, they're
start poking their heads out, and
so cool.
yeah. I
The
saw.
idea that in the States that you can keep them and people think of them as like a $20 throwaway animal, to me is nuts.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, I don't
Crazy.
care about your iguanas and all that sort of stuff. Those garter snakes are sick.
Red-sided garter snakes. Yeah.
They are sick.
I saw a video. Someone had like, I guess like a 3 foot exoterra or whatever, and fully decked out, like planted and whatnot, and it
Mm,
had water in the bottom and the front. And you couldn't see any snakes when they walked over to the cage. They
mm,
opened the door and they were like tapping the edge, like the
mm.
door frame, and like 12 heads started poking their way out. And they would all come over and they were feeding them one fish on the tongs individually, and each snake just took off with its own fish. All very polite. There was no fuss, and off they went about their day.
That's cool. You know,
It's sick.
Luke Youngins was telling me that he used to keep whip snakes and
Hmm.
like the yellow face, and that they were quite like that too.
Yeah, right.
I think he had them in a small group, and they would sort of all poke their heads out and do that similar sort of behavior. I don't know about the tapping, but
Yeah. Well, I don't think you'd be tapping your fingers in front of a whip snake anyway. might
yeah,
go pretty pear shaped.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
actually, whip snakes. Somerville was saying he keeps the whip snakes. Hey, I'm surprised they're not more popular.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just like a not too dissimilar to the tree snakes. They're just a bit tricky to manage,
Hmm.
tricky to
Especially being
establish, and
venomous
then
as well.
and when they hatch out, they are super small.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe they're just 100% skink eaters too, especially when they're small. So fish might be tricky, but that'd be interesting. I think also that the I'm not sure exactly how the rules work in New South Wales, but the category one elapids are whip snakes. So I guess there's got to be some around.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think the only venomous species that
Me
really
neither.
gets me going is the Stevens, the Stevens bandids,
Oh yeah,
and
but
that's
that's
only
again because you can make a cool cage with it.
exactly, but also because
Yeah,
I see them like when I go herping. That's like one of my targets. You know, I really enjoy finding them and the variation in the stripes and colors and stuff that we get. Um, and I'm like where I am is at like the lowest end of their range.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I really really enjoy them. I can definitely see myself going down that path one day if I was to get into venomous, but I'm in no rush.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure.
In no
Well,
rush.
anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nah, man.
We
Nah,
covered
man.
some
It's all good.
stuff.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
Sweet. Well, if anyone's looking for you online, there's a few ways they can find you. Where
Mm.
are you?
Yeah, so Habitats at Home on Instagram. You can contact me there on Facebook as well, but the Facebook page is basically whatever goes on the Instagram, just it goes across to the Facebook, but I am contactable on there on Messenger. The website is habitatsathome.com.au. You can see a lot of the products and stuff that we've got on there. I'm adding more to that. Like one thing I should mention is I do everything in this business on my own. Um, so it's kind of like I can only do one thing at a time. So we are always sort of adding things to the website and more products and things like that. And then yeah, I think that's our email is habitatsathome@gmail.com. You
Yep,
can reach
sweet.
me in all
Yep,
those
I'll put
ways.
all those links in the show notes as well for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, we're here to fill a niche in Australia to build sort of more unique and custom enclosures. If there's something in particular that you need for your species, then we're here to try and make that for you if that's what you the route that you choose to go down. So um, yeah, just reach out.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show, Tyson. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, as for me, everyone, as always, thanks so much for listening. You can reach out to me on Instagram at joemac.uthl. If you've enjoyed listening, please consider liking and subscribing. That wraps up episode number 14. Thanks, Tyson.
Hey, no worries.
Remember to check out habitatsathome.com.au or Habitats at Home on Instagram or Facebook for all your PVC reptile enclosures and reptile supplies.